Today, we're going to be talking about the crisis at the border. We're also going to be talking about the day in the life of a music therapist. I'm Joe.
I'm Josh.
You've got questions?
You're feeling grounded.
I feel famous right now, guys.
You are famous, man. Out of the three of us, you're the most famous.
Welcome to Feeling Grounded with your hosts, Josh and Joe.
Are you going to toast it?
Yeah, let's toast it. Clink. Chris, you got a drink?
I have water in my Spider-Man cup.
Oh, water again. Every single guest at this point, our second
Ew.
one has water.
Nice. Very cool.
Stay hydrated.
Stay hydrate or dihydrate.
Oh. It's true.
Our next guest at Feeling Grounded podcast, he's an ace of hearts because he works at the creative arts. Please welcome Chris, a music therapist.
All right. Thanks. That was solid.
So how's it going, guys? How's everybody's week?
Solid.
Tiring.
Nothing terrible to report. A little tiring.
Long.
How was it long, Chris?
Man, I sound depressing. It's been tiring and long, and I'm just like, I think just post-COVID right now. So, like, we're just kind of just like, when I say we, I mean myself and my wife, we're just like ready to like do something else. 'Cause it feels like we've been inside forever.
Yeah.
So like the weeks are just like, oh, okay, now what? Summer's coming around. What does that mean? Can we get together with people? Do we do normal things? Like, what does that look like? So
Yeah,
we're
it's
just
crazy.
like, all right, let's get out of this rut. But how do we get back to life, to normalcy? Not even normalcy, the whatever,
We'll
post-COVID.
keep calling the new normal for whatever you
Yeah.
keep saying. But yeah, I feel you. I feel like it's we're seeing the light though. I feel like we're almost there. After the big announcement yesterday or 2 days ago with
2 days ago, yeah,
the
just
CDC
about.
saying you
Mhm.
don't need a mask, which I'm super stoked about. But
Yeah.
I just hope they enact it. But
There are going to be certain businesses, I'm sure, that will issue certain statements and keep their signs up, like still keep a mask on.
yeah, I saw this morning though. It was like Costco, Walmart, and like a lot of these big places say you don't need to wear a mask if you're
Oh,
if you're
really?
vaccinated. Yeah,
Wow.
Interesting.
because if it's true, if it's you're not going to get it, or the chances are way down there if you get vaccinated, then why not? It's the point of the vaccination.
hmm
It's
Are they still
true.
going to ask for vaccine passports or not vaccine?
The
Vaccine
cards, yeah.
cards.
Probably, I would imagine. They're
Listen,
talking about. Oh, go ahead.
You can so like easily duplicate like those cards though. It's literally just like a cardboard piece of paper,
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
like, oh, man, you can easily.
Some people are talking about like getting like a laminated, like a barcoded thing. You can like beep it as you come in. But it's just crazy.
Yeah.
That's very Orwellian.
Yeah.
Yeah. I laminated my vaccine card just
Oh, really?
because I'm extra
Nice.
like that. And someone offered, "Do you want it laminated?" I'm like,
What I hate is it's
It's
not big enough
free.
to fit in your wallet. It's like too
Yes.
big.
Well, I
Like,
mean,
the-
you can
the-
easily
the
just take a
biggest
picture of
oversize.
Size
it.
of the wallet.
I know, literally, you couldn't make it a little bit
TV
smaller.
size wallet.
I can fit it.
That's too good.
So what does normalcy look like this summer, Chris?
Yo, I don't even know. So, typically, what a normal summer looks like is like lots of time with family, lots of traveling, lots of time on the road. So, that means going to different states, seeing different people, doing those different things. Now, as of last year, right, that was frowned upon. Like, you can't just go to different states and see different people and do different things. So now we're like, all right, well, things are kind of getting back to normal, what we've done in the past. So let's do that. Let's go to different states, see people, do different things. But then it's like, all right, are those people comfortable with that? Like, are we comfortable with that? Like, not that we care too much about that, but is that frowned upon still? Like, do we do that? So it's like, oh, still so many questions. Like, what do I do? So I don't know.
I guess a lot of people's perception of the situation, like I think a lot of people are tired because it's been over a year at this point. I'm sure you still have some Karens out there who will be a lot more keen to keep it the way it was.
Right. Well, I feel like it's amazing how polarized everyone is, and I feel like this past year, 2 years, we've really seen like how intense people can be and how everyone's kind of at each other's throats about stuff. And this is just a great example of that too. Like, should we stay? Should we not? Like, who's more, lenient with things? Who's really hardcore about stuff? So it's just kind of crazy. I feel like no matter what, someone's gonna get pissed off, regardless of whatever decision you make.
Yeah. So just you do you, make it happen.
Yeah, just don't be stupid.
Yeah, don't be stupid. Yeah,
That's
actually,
it.
yeah, there you go.
That's it. That's all
Yeah,
you need.
be smart. Be smart. Don't
Put that
be
on your coffee cup. Just don't be
Yeah.
stupid.
Don't be stupid. I'd buy a coffee mug with that on it, honestly.
let's
Bumper
do it.
sticker.
Some
Let's
bumper
do it.
sticker, yeah.
Yeah, don't be stupid.
Don't be stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As if it's like a choice. I mean, for the most part, it is a choice. For the most part, it is.
Well, oh yeah, that's a good point. And I don't know. I get what you're saying there. Yeah.
Well, you can think more.
Yeah.
Just take a second.
Think
Everyone
about
just
what
gotta
you're
take a
trying to
second.
do to me.
Yeah. Everyone, just relax. Take a second.
This is what I think. I think this summer should be like mandated countrywide vacation. I think like the month of August, like no one should do anything. Like everyone should be allowed to just go wherever they want. They don't have to work. Just go.
Florida will be very angry at you, Josh, because their school starts like August 15th, I think, right?
Oh, well, before school.
Yeah, and talk about the traffic. Holy moly. If the entire nation took a vacation, man.
Yeah, that's true. People probably would get happy, I would think.
Yeah, that's what we need. We just need a blanket of happiness over the entire nation.
Just a warm
Right.
blanket.
Warm on top
Warm
of a warm
blanket.
summer.
It's a warm blanket. That guy needs a warm blanket. Cheer him up.
Have you ever had like a
hot
warm
towel.
fleece blanket? Like ever put on like a warm fleece blanket in the middle of the summer? It is gross.
It sounds gross.
I couldn't.
Sounds
I
gross.
can't even imagine. I hate the heat to begin with.
Yeah.
I'd much rather be cold personally. I'm like I hate being
Sleeping
hot.
in like your own filth. Ugh.
What?
Yeah,
Sweaty-
that sounds pretty gross.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty gross.
There is one person watching this podcast. They're like, "That's the dream."
The way you said that was too good. That's the dream. I love sleeping in filth. Oh gosh. Okay.
Because there are people like that, I'm sure. Because you've never
Oh, yeah,
seen, because
probably,
if you've
yeah.
ever seen My Strange Addictions, that one person eating their mattress, one person eating like sand, some other weird ones that escape me.
It's time for Happy Crappy.
I feel like Chris has crappy he wants to talk about first, or happy, I don't know.
So do I talk about both at the same time or just one?
We'll feel it out.
Yeah, whatever you want.
Okay. So happy crappy. Crappy for the week. So I love my job. It's a great job. Love what I do. But it's very exhausting, very stressful. Because I'm working with people all day. And, people are flawed and have a lot of issues going on. So it can be a lot. And I get very exhausted. I feel like today it kind of shows, like my eyes are like very squinty right now. It's like, I'm like barely, I feel like I'm barely like awake, even though I woke up like 4 hours ago. But yeah, it's just when the weekend hits, I get like kind of slammed in the face. Like my body's like, yo, Chris, you gotta like sleep, take some vitamins. I don't know. Get those Fred Flintstone vitamins, which are very good, but maybe for your children. But,
Aren't
and
we
just
all
kind of
children?
recuperate. Sure, yeah, Stay a child as long as you can. Kid at heart. That's what's up.
There you go. That's right.
But yeah, it's just exhausting. Exhausting job, but I like it a lot. That's the situation. But there's always a high chance for burnout, and I recognize that, because like obviously being a counselor, working with all these people, doing those things, it's always on the back of my mind. I'm always like ready. I was like, I could burn out any moment, but then that makes me more anxious. Like, oh my gosh, like I'm like, so I'm always on edge. So just gotta take it easy, take it light,
Yeah, one day at a time.
One day at a time. Yeah, I tell people
1 hour
that
at a
all the
time.
time.
Yeah.
All the time. 1 hour, 1 second at a time.
Yeah.
Anyways. But yeah, I tell people that all the time. It's funny, you always run into situations where you feel like you tell people certain things, but then you don't live that out. It's like, hey, just like one day at a time, just take it easy. And then you're like in your own mind, like, oh my gosh, like freaking out, like thinking about 3 weeks in advance and like whatever. It's just like, we're all our own worst hypocrites, right?
Yeah, yeah. Something to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what do you do to like unwind after like a rough day? What's your like go-to thing?
Man, what is my go-to thing to unwind? Honestly, just coming home to my wife is like literally the best thing. Very thankful for that, to have someone to come home to just be like, man, today was crazy. Give a good hug and like whatever. So I'm very blessed in that regard. But I do like to play video games, which I did give up at one point for like a month and a half, but then fell back into it. So sometimes a little bit too much. So I like to play like time waster games, like multiplayer, online multiplayer games, solid time waster games. Like, oh, I have like an hour here, I'm just gonna play this, and you end up like playing it for like 2 hours. You're like, no, like this is, what have I done with myself? I've been sitting like a couch potato.
I know that grind. You feel like crap afterwards. I've gone away from the video game grind.
Yeah, and you're like, all right, like maybe I can do something more productive. Maybe I'll like read a book, which I like reading. I've been getting into reading, but like, just the thought of picking up and reading a book seems like extra work, because I was like, oh, I got my mind.
Yeah, because you're stretching your mind instead of just turning it off. I can understand that. When you're reading these days. I
wish there was just a switch. You could just be like, all right, let's just not think for a little bit. Flick, whatever, turn that off for a little bit. But I've been trying to get back into exercising, which would be great. But I'm noticing after work, right, when you get back from work, you're like, you don't want to do anything. So I'm like, all right, maybe I'll do it in the morning. Be one of those people that like wakes up like 5:30, 6 o'clock, but I can never get up. Like I try.
It's hardest when you start. It really is tough when you start.
Well, I'm the same exact way. Like the second that, for a long time, I tried to, either way, I would on the way home, but then the second I would get home, if I didn't go straight to the gym after work, then it just wouldn't happen. I would sit on the couch and then that's it. Or in the morning, I just could never wake up. So the thing that I found that worked for me was, as soon as I was done with work, I brought a change of clothes to work. I changed, and then I went straight to the gym on the way home, and then just was there for an hour and a half, and then went straight home. That worked for me for like 6 months or something. So.
That's smart. Yeah, that's actually a pretty solid idea. That way you're already like, by the time you leave, you're already like, all right, well, I'm already dressed. I'm ready to go.
Like I had my day, and now I'm just going to exercise.
And the schedule right now is kind of fluid, Josh, right? Yeah, that's what makes it tough. Like when am I going to do it?
Yeah. This year I haven't worked out in like a good solid year or so, except like during COVID time was like when I was able to get back into it because I was home. It's tough if you have like a solid routine. That's the thing, is I was working 8 to 3 at Guitar Center, or 6 to 3, and so I would just every 3 o'clock go straight to the gym that's close by, and then just get home by 5. And I did that Monday through Friday. If it's not like a solid routine, then it's easy to go by the wayside.
Josh is the pull-up king.
Maybe one. I used to be. Maybe I probably can't even. I can't do a pull-up.
How many pull-ups makes you the pull-up king?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, I don't know.
Leave it in the comments, people.
I will say, in my senior year of high school, we would do like challenges and competitions in the weight room, and there was one where you would try to get as many reps as you could with a bare bar, like bench pressing. It was no weight on it, and you do as much as you can in 1 minute. And I set the record. I forget what the number was, but I like got the most out of anybody.
I could see you right after that, just like yelling the biggest Tarzan scream. I've never seen Josh ever make that face, but I can only imagine like how glorious it was.
I was a meathead, but I wasn't that kind of meathead. So I didn't do that.
Yeah, you ripped off your shirt and everything, right? Like,
it was already ripped to begin with. He prepared for
that moment.
It
was already ripped. He just wore a ripped shirt.
No.
Cool. Baby, let it rip.
So
Beyblade.
Whoa.
Yo, Beyblade.
You
Yo,
guys have those?
yo, middle school. Yo, that was such a thing. You weren't cool if you didn't have a Beyblade.
With like the big
And they
plastic
never
arena.
worked. Like you,
Yeah, they never worked.
They would hit this.
baby, let it rip.
It's just like,
It was so
Wow.
funny. Yeah, then the show where like the monsters came out of their Beyblade
yeah,
or something, and they're like
yeah.
fighting. It's so man, that was so weird.
that was so strange.
Weird.
They had some
I've
weird.
never met
they had some
somebody
weird
that did
shows.
this. I'm so happy right now.
I did
'Cause
it.
I totally did that.
Yeah.
Oh
as a kid.
yeah, yo, Beyblade was legit. Yeah,
It was
you had those
it was a
little
closet thing, you know. Whenever you have like a play date or something like that, oh, I have my Beyblade in my backpack. Oh, I have my Beyblade in my like. Oh, you have the kit? Let's do it. And then it never worked. And then you had to think
Yeah.
of something else to do. Let's play
Right.
computer games.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's funny.
So that was your crappy, Chris.
That was my crappy.
How about you want to just give a happy right away?
Yeah, let's give a happy. I have to think. That's sad. That's sad when you have to really think about your happy, but then your crappy comes like so easy.
That's why I write it down so I can prepare for these moments.
You know, because
Because I think of the happy, the crappy first.
yeah, but that's like
Yeah.
that's just a natural way of things. Like it's so easy to focus on the negative, and you
negative,
really
yeah.
have to try to like look at the positive and a perspective.
Right.
But yeah, I guess the happy. So we did go out to eat last night.
Oh, nice.
My wife and I, for the first time in some time, it's probably been like almost a year now, where we sat down at a restaurant with some friends, some local friends, and that was really cool. Really enjoyed that. It was very strange. I think a lot of people had a lot to say, so it was very loud because, you know, not everyone's talked to each other. So it was just like, but like that was good. It was great. You know, so that was really nice. I think a lot of people too are trying to figure out like, okay, like where did we last, you know, talk? Like, oh, like that has happened. It's like, when the last time we talked? It's probably been about like 6 months. It's like, oh gosh, so much has happened in 6 months. So it was nice. It was really nice to catch up and like go out to eat and kind of feel, I guess, you know, if you want to call it normal for a little bit. So that was really solid. So looking forward to more of those and just going out to eat, you know, it's like such a privilege now. It seems like, you know,
Yeah, definitely.
just be able
What
to
type
do
of
that.
restaurant did you guys encounter?
Oh, seafood. We went to a seafood place.
Nice.
So it was
Got
nice.
your Red Lobster.
You know, I've been to, it wasn't Red Lobster. I've been to Red Lobster once and I really wasn't impressed, you know.
Wow.
It's kind of like Olive Garden, you know. Olive
Clearly,
Garden.
you had no bread there that day.
I don't even remember. It
biscuits,
was so
yeah.
long ago.
Yeah.
So long ago.
I have to admit, like where we grew up, Red Lobster was like the fancy restaurant.
Really?
Yeah, I literally, it's like ingrained within me to think that Red Lobster is like a high end. Like we would only go there for like people's anniversaries or something. Like
Gotcha.
Or
I guess if
mine,
you
so-
live, yeah, really like in the country,
Yeah.
that's like, you know, considered.
Where are your local joints? You know?
Yeah.
But cool. Yeah, I think that was the one thing I missed over, you know, in the COVID world was going out to eat with people. That's definitely having
Yeah.
a drink with the boys. You know.
Cracking open a cold one.
Yeah, crack a cold one with the boys.
Okay. Joe, do you want to go?
I will absolutely go. What do you want me to do? Tell me. Please tell me. What do I do?
Okay, man.
I don't know what to do.
Whatever you want.
Whatever you want to do.
That was almost like an ASMR thing, Josh. Whatever you wanna do.
No, that's not no.
Yo, ASMR.
He does this to torture me. I hate it.
Does
I
it?
freaking hate it, man. I hate it. So
What, you
much.
hate ASMR or you just hate when Joe does?
No, he hates boyfriend ASMR or the girlfriend. Remember a couple episodes ago?
I hate it all, man. I can't say it.
Mama loves you, Harry.
Oh,
Mama loves you, Harry.
Stop.
Oh, yeah. No, it is really strange. It does make me feel very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's just like I said, like a couple like weird people happen to like it on the certain corner of the internet. Just like, you know, they
I
might.
think
like,
a lot of people do.
They might like they might
yeah.
like sleeping
very
in their
popular.
own sweat, like the weird people like that.
Maybe. Yeah. I'm not
Anyway.
one of those people. So.
Anyway, I'm stalling. I gotta talk
Yes,
about.
sir.
I'll talk about crappy. Yeah. So a few days ago, I I got a whole host of warning lights on my car, including the check engine light. Driving down the highway of all places, because it always happens on the highway. But luckily, I was only about a few miles away from my apartment, so continued on. Took it to the dealership the next day. So apparently mice, it's this time of year, mice came into the engine, because it was warm and it's still cold at night. So, and they saw a bunch of wires, a jubilee, a cornucopia, a quiver of wires, because all wires have like soy-based like stuff around, like the wiring. So yes, and
Wow.
that attracts them. That's what new cars are made of these days. And so they made a nest around there, keep warm, right near the engine, because it still is, even after you turn it off, of course. So I got a loaner car for that time, filed a claim with my insurance, and, I only got to pay about $100. So it's all good, but, had to deal with, the stress of those lights. It's all fine. The car was fine. So I got to count myself lucky.
Yeah. That's crazy. Wait, your insurance covered it though?
For the most part. I think I only
Wow.
had to pay about $100. It was
Wow.
about like 630 in total.
Okay.
Gotcha.
What do you use for insurance?
I
Who do you
used the what policy? What company?
What company?
Progressive.
Geico.
Are they sponsoring us? Are they sponsoring this
Oh, I
podcast?
wish. I'll put it in the tags. Flo just appears.
Sponsored by. Yeah, she just shows up. She's like in the Zoom chat.
with like a fleece blanket.
And she does ASMR.
It's a blue fleece blanket, just like Progressive colors. I
Love it.
I planned this.
This thing's just one giant ad. That's basically what this whole thing is.
I'll put in the tags for the video. So
I'll just sell that too.
just selling out. Happy. Boom. What happened? Basically last week, every single night, like I went to bed like really, really late, just because there was a lot of other plans. There was worship team practice for. That was one thing I had to stay up a little bit longer for that. Plus a lot of other stuff. Just editing for the podcast previously. I had a lot of stuff to do beforehand, kind of got in the way. But this week, I had more nights free compared to last week. And I was able to fill a lot more time for personal guitar time, which is good. Yeah, just a lot more downtime post work, which I really, really appreciate. Yeah.
Great.
Solid.
Very
Josh, ASMR, Josh.
nice. Stop. Well, Joe, what are you working on for like personal guitar stuff? What were you playing?
Yeah.
I need to brush up on my scales, really trying to get more into the modes, because always that had been a daunting task.
Yeah.
I brought my Fender Telecaster home, which it's just that type of guitar. It was the first ever solid body electric guitar. There's a reason, like there's a formula to it, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's the type of guitar that a lot of people don't understand. A 5-way switch, like who are just casual guitar players, but
I love them though.
yeah, because it's got 3 pickups, which is cool. It's the type of guitar where it's just so tough and mean, and but not mean on the fingers.
It's a bad boy.
It's a type of guitar, after you play it, it'll drive you home.
Literally, drive you home.
Yep. It takes care of you.
Nice.
That's
Very cool.
solid.
That's like one of the last ones on my list that I want. I don't have one yet. I want a Telecaster. They make one that's like a semi-hollow that I love.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
With the nice humbucker.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want a humbucker on it, or you want just single
Yeah,
folios?
I do want a humbucker. Yeah, I just love the thickness, the clear, the beautiful, like juicy.
I don't even know what all these words are. Humbucker, MO, what? I'm just an acoustic guitar player, guys. Listen, this electric stuff is not in my wheelhouse.
That's what makes you relatable. That's why we have you here. No, I don't know. I have no idea what a bunch of
Because we
like I don't know how to play drums. I have no rhythm other than on electric. When somebody puts me in front of a drum set, I don't know where I
Listen,
am.
everybody's got rhythm. Joe, you got rhythm, man. You got a heartbeat, right? It's pumping away. You got beat. You got soul. You got rhythm.
Yeah, but Chris, the thing is, when I have you in the room, my heartbeat skips. So
Whoa.
you know,
Listen, man. I'm married, so.
so I got no rhythm. It's a very jazzy rhythm at this moment in time. You know, it's just so it just flutters. You know.
Flutters. Yeah, that's cool though. Yo, but I actually have been looking into getting an electric guitar, possibly, but they're expensive. If you want to get like a decent one, right? I want to get like, all right, something like pretty solid, but like, man, I just don't, we have 3 acoustic guitars. I'm like, do I really need an electric? I don't know.
Yeah, I feel you there.
But
if I was still working at Guitar Center, I'd give you my my discount.
Man.
Not anymore. That's the one thing I miss from working there.
Wah, wah, wah.
Okay, so
No sponsor from Guitar Center.
Never. Okay, at least I can do mine. I'll start with my crappy, I guess. So it's really just we're still waiting on our home. Like I kind of said with the guys before the video, is we're clear to close, but the sellers are really dragging their feet, making it kind of rough for us. So hopefully by the end of this month, we'll own a home.
Be moving in.
Yeah, be moving in. Hopefully.
All right.
Just see what happens. Well, we have to. Like our stuff expires by June 1st. So, happy. Claire and I, well, my wife and I, went for a really nice walk last night. We talked for like a good hour about all kinds of things. Just walking around the neighborhood. It was very fruitful. It's a good conversation. Just about like life now and life in the future and what's going on. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, it's
That's
good
awesome.
stuff. Deep into the heart. It's good. Sorry about all the screaming. There's children right outside my window that are yelling.
Children, man.
Tell you.
The future is inevitable, but let's travel back in time.
May 19th,
May 19th, 1999. Okay. Star Wars Episode 1 was released.
The prequel era began.
It began. The first one. And boy, I guess, okay. It do well. I forget how well it did in the box office.
Well, it actually did it's one of the highest one of the highest grossing movies of all time, especially its opening weekend. It was like 28.5 million opening day.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah. I believe it. I mean, people were super excited because it was when did Return of the Jedi come out? It was like 83. 83.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
that's a long
get a good
time ago.
16 years.
In a galaxy far, far away.
That's right.
Yeah, I know people that when you talk to people that actually went to go see the first premiere of the Star Wars, they said it was like a huge deal. I mean, like people dressed up, like the lines were crazy long.
Are you talking about the original Star Wars?
Right, when they went to go see, like the whatever. I mean,
at the Chinese theater, that was like the first. George didn't even. He thought his movie was gonna flop.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It did really well. Really well. Yeah, which makes sense because I think it had enough time where the hype was growing and growing and growing, and then their marketing.
Yeah, and he announced
the games
this,
that came out and all this stuff, and then it was just like the peak of this. He was like, "Yo, we're making the prequels."
Yeah, he announced that movie in like 1994, like 5 years before. So all this 5 years of hype he created.
Yeah, on top of that, on top of what the past had shown.
Yeah.
And what is everyone's opinion on this movie? What do you guys think?
I got all my Chris. Go ahead. I might go off on a tangent. We'll see how it goes.
So, are we just talking Star Wars in general? Are we talking about this movie specifically?
Episode 1.
So
Episode 1.
Phantom Menace,
the Phantom Menace.
If you've ever seen it.
Yeah, the Phantom Menace gets a lot of heat, for like not being a good movie, and honestly, it's not really memorable. I feel like I don't really remember. It's because actually I just watched all the Star Wars. It might have been like a couple months ago.
Nice.
Or it might have even been longer than
during
that.
quarantine, right?
Yeah, it was like quarantine time. Actually, I think it was during legit quarantine.
Yeah, they aired that all the time.
Yeah, it's like, what do we do? So we're like, I don't know.
Reruns.
Let's just watch the Star Wars. And we had the longest debate of figuring out, well, how should we watch them, right? That was another hard thing. But yeah, because I'm trying to even remember the Phantom Menace. I can't even like it's not even coming to me. So,
So it was
um,
with Darth Maul, fight at the end, and when
oh,
Anakin was
oh,
incinerated,
okay, yeah,
right?
yo, that Darth Maul fight was pretty cool though. Like, not gonna lie, like that
My
was
favorite. My
yeah,
favorite.
that's a solid fight. He was a solid villain that didn't last very long. That
Right.
when I do think of Star Wars, I do remember him.
Mm-hmm.
So like that part was definitely good. The other stuff I honestly don't remember. No.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like between Jar Jar Binks and politics, it was pretty painful. But yeah, I feel like it's a build up to that end scene. Like that fight scene is great, and everything before that, and what they do with the Force, like the midi chlorians and all that crap. It's just kind of like you kind of
Yeah. I have a soft spot for Phantom Menace. This was my first ever Star Wars movie in theaters. Of course, I grew up on original trilogy beforehand. Um, just by the way, in a couple weeks, Josh, shilling for 2 weeks from now, our guest will be talking and ranking the Star Wars movies with us. So everybody who's listening, be prepared for that. Because my opinion might be different from a lot of other people. I love Phantom Menace. I used to hate this movie.
Yeah, I liked it as a kid. I'll
Yeah.
say like when I was a kid, I liked it because it was one of those movies that we watched a lot. We had it on VHS. When
Of course,
watched
yeah.
it over and over again. But then as I got older, I started not liking
Yeah.
as much.
I think the things that are bad, I'll start with the bad things, is the child actors, because that's the kiss of death for any movie. Because they had, if you look at the behind the scenes of the actors that they chose as like your final stand-ins, you had Jake Lloyd, the kid who became Anakin, Annie, as Jar Jar would say, his like screech, Annie, Annie. I love Jar Jar Binks. I love Jar Jar Binks when he says that. His screams are just, yeah. Jar Jar is also the kiss of death for that movie. He's not as bad as he was. He's not as bad. No child liked Jar Jar Binks from what I didn't like him. I thought he was okay. But there's a soft spot I have for him. But the other child actors that they could have chose instead of Jake Lloyd, you know, a kid that also looked like Luke Skywalker, they could have chosen him. A kid that looked like, he even looked like Mark Hamill. Perfect acting, like just showed like a bunch of range, and they didn't choose him.
Right. And I'll say too, Natalie Portman was not good in that movie.
Yeah.
Very bad. Robotic acting. Like everything she said was just like, that's right.
Just one face, oh yeah.
My favorite robotic line from "I'm grateful for your concern, Chancellor."
Yeah. Yikes.
I think they did that. Like she was very influenced by, or George Lucas rather, he was very influenced by Asian culture, because a lot of that regal, that headdress that she was wearing, and just being stoic, and her makeup, very very much influenced by Asian culture.
What is it called? Like the Gaishins or something like
the
that?
Geishas, yes.
The Geishas.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
There
of
you
course,
go.
My Asian knowledge.
the fight,
Yeah,
the
perfect
fight
time
scene,
to use it.
the fight scene was the greatest of all time.
Yeah, it's good.
When I first watched the movie,
I love Liam Neeson. He's like,
he was
my
also
thing,
good too. He's my favorite Jedi.
Yeah.
Yeah, who
When
doesn't like Liam Neeson? He's like
He's the best.
He's the best.
I got a history one for you. Anne Boleyn, the second wife of Henry VIII, was executed. How many wives did she have total? Remember we talked about this, Josh? How many did you guess?
6.
Yep, that's right. Yeah. 6 wives. This is his second wife. So a little bit of backstory. She was, a maid for Henry's first wife, Catherine of Aragon. But Henry became, infatuated with Anne.
And coming in with those good looks.
The excellent maid service.
My God.
Clean that
Anne does it
manhole
again.
really well.
And does it again.
Anne does it
This
again.
floor has never been so sweaty.
But once Henry was just like, I don't want to be with Catherine anymore, the Catholic Church refused to accept his annulment for that marriage. So Henry was like, I'm not Catholic no more. And so he broke off.
I'm
from
gonna make
the
my
Pope.
own religion.
Yeah, the Church of England. So what did Anne do? Or she had really no control over this. She gave birth to a daughter, Elizabeth I, after like so many miscarriages, 3, I think, and no sons. 3 years later, Henry moves on to this girl named Jane Seymour. Jane.
I bet she saw more.
You temptress, you. Arrested for high treason, Anne was found guilty in a jury. Not just like this is the interesting thing. She was found guilty of high treason by her own uncle and her former fiance.
Thanks.
Beheaded a few days later in the Tower of London.
What?
At the Tower of London.
All right, now I feel bad for Anne.
Yeah, just because he stopped loving her.
Man, that's terrible.
He's a good guy. He's a good guy.
Yeah, salt of the earth guy.
Oh, yeah. 1997. Jurassic Park 2, The Lost World, dropped.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever seen this movie?
Oh, I have.
Yeah.
It's a giant pile of dinosaur turds.
You know, like I'm not the biggest fan of Jurassic Park movies. You know,
I have any of them, yeah.
I try to get on the hype, right? I'm like, all right.
I liked the first one. I couldn't do any others.
Of course.
Yeah.
Here's the thing about that movie is just, and even the book, because there's a book based on it, just called The Lost World. It's based on the Michael Crichton books. The first one, Jurassic Park, is just the greatest of all time. Nothing can beat that. They should have just kept it at one. But the book that they made, Michael Crichton, he did it and he just kind of just flubbed it. He didn't really care about it. What's interesting about that second movie is it doesn't really combine a lot of those horror elements of the first one. It's just, run away from dinosaur, get to the next objective, run away from dinosaur. Because the dinosaur lands in like San Francisco or whatever in the end of the movie. It just starts like eating people. Like, how did he get there?
It doesn't matter. You just have to use your imagination.
Like a giant T-Rex.
Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah, there are
like
good moments. Good moments in that movie.
Right.
Yeah, like the bus, the trailer.
Yeah, that's
with the mom and dad T-Rex.
Yeah, they're okay. You know, I really like. I mean, anytime I think of Jurassic Park movies or whatever, I always remember the theme song because there's a French horn in the beginning. It's so good. It's so good. That French horn kills it. I'm like, yeah, nice.
Definitely. Yeah. That's one thing I'll say about quarantine is we got hardcore into film scores. Claire and I did. So like we've been listening to John Williams on repeat. It's like awesome.
The last time I was there, Josh, over the winter, you guys were like listening to like a bunch of movie soundtracks.
And, yeah, we've been really into that.
Yeah, that's good for baby Eli.
Yeah.
Give him some culture.
The boy. Instead of just listening to Sesame Street music.
On repeat.
That can get old. May 19th, 1962.
We got more.
Yeah.
We're going.
Dropping that fire.
Marilyn Monroe sang a sultry
is this the happy birthday
version of Happy Birthday to President JFK.
Happy birthday.
In Madison Square Garden.
Mr. President.
And apparently, like the dress that was designed for her was from far away to make her look like illuminated and naked. So a lot of people were just like, "This is disgusting!" Like all these older folks. So she sang "Happy Birthday," and at the time, while she was singing this, she was only going to be alive for 3 more months. At the time, she was having like severe emotional issues. Husband was dealing with gallbladder surgery, was in some psych hospital. And her most recent film was, bombed at the box office. So the main question that we're all thinking in our heads, did they have an affair?
Do, 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 do.
Yeah.
On Dateline.
Tonight at 9 p.m.
What have you guys known about this affair,
I've
this
heard about it.
entanglement of sorts?
I've heard about it. Because there's all this other stuff with the other Kennedys, too. Because wasn't there something with like Robert or one of the brothers and her as well?
I have no clue about Robert.
Yeah, there was like something there. Yeah, I don't know.
There's only one photo that has surfaced a few moments after the Madison Square Garden Happy Birthday. It's her and JFK were together. Same with Robert in the photo. So it's very well possible. But as far as an affair, me looking this up before, I don't think so. Maybe it's just more of an encounter.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I feel like
because
Hasn't gotten to the next level.
yeah, um, maybe if had circumstances been different, but I think they just had a few months before, they were at Bing Crosby's home in Palm Springs in March before May, because obviously March is before May.
That is
true.
I don't know why I said
that.
So
Last
yeah,
time we checked.
if anything, there could have been an encounter there, but we'll never know.
Yeah, who knows?
And also May 19th, 2005, Revenge of the Sith came out.
Really?
Another Star Wars. Yeah, I saw it that opening day. Yeah, it was great.
I didn't see that in my research.
Crazy.
Entertainment. Where's the entertainment, guys?
What do you do for work?
What do I do for work?
Yeah. Don't explain that.
Well,
to the good people.
Question is like, what don't I do for work? No, I'm just kidding. Everyone says that, right? So I'm a creative arts counselor at a substance abuse inpatient rehab, but I specialize in or focus on using music therapy in what I do. So my groups, individual sessions, things like that. But at the same time, I'm surrounded by someone that's also an art therapist, so we do art therapy. Someone that's really good with psychodrama, so we do psychodrama. We also do creative writing, so a lot of modalities and things to help people with their substance abuse issues, trauma, mental health, all of that. So
there you go.
Which instruments do you play, like, a lot, just so people can, see what you do? I remember you mentioned drums before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if I could just play the drums the rest of my life at all times, that would be great. I love the drums, love rhythm. So like I play acoustic guitar, but I would say I'd probably play more rhythm guitar on the acoustic guitar, probably because I come from a percussion background. So yeah, and then other fun things on the side, ukulele, banjo, whatever, things to keep you interested when you're getting bored with those kinds of things. Even piano. I feel like piano's like a staple instrument that should at least know a little bit about if you want to get into the music world, because there's so much you can do with that. So versatile.
Mm.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. That's great. So what does kind of like a regular session look like? Like the what is it? You guys like play certain songs? Do you do different things? Like do they kind of go off with like the groups? Is everyone just like sitting with you? Kind of like how does a typical session look?
Yeah, so if we're doing like a group session, say, most of the time they can be pretty long. They're like 2 hours. So we have a ton of drums. Very blessed to have those, like tabanos, djembes, all that. So we'll do a drum circle, which is great. So that's pretty standard. Other times we'll all be in the same room. We'll do some song discussions, so we might throw up something by Eminem or something like that. Everyone's got the lyrics in front of them. We listen to the song, and they, people kind of pick out what they relate to, what stands out to them, what does that mean to them. And then other times we'll do some like simple songwriting, which I love to use the blues for on the acoustic guitar. Very standard. Everyone can kind of relate to that. So we'll all be in the same room. We'll kind of have a template where they can kind of just fill in the blanks, something really simple, like non-threatening, it's not too intense. So we'll do some songwriting with that. Sometimes I break off in groups to do songwriting. So there's a lot of different stuff. I mean, try to keep it interesting, try to keep it engaging, and do what we can do to, help people feel comfortable, but also step kind of outside their comfort zone a little bit.
Nice.
Could you share like a success story in your mind, without specifics, obviously, that really inspired you as a music therapist or as a creative arts counselor?
Man, that's a hard one. So, I guess I could say I've been doing like music therapy professionally now, probably we're in 2021 already, so like 5 years. So, it doesn't seem that long, but, and I think most of like the success stories, I guess I really attribute to when I was like first starting out, or even when I was still in school, doing my internship, practicum, and all that stuff. because like that was like my entire focus was into like, do I want to do this? How does this work? Like, is this working? How does it help people? And I really opened up my eyes to that. And then, there's a few clients that I worked with who really connected to the music, connected with me, we connected to each other. And I think when there's like that connection in that moment with the music, with whoever's sitting in front of you, with each other, that's like huge. That's like what I strive for. If people can like feel connected, grounded, they're like mindful, they're experiencing what's going on. Like those moments, which I've had before, like those are the best, man. Those are like super solid, when, we're like playing a song, someone's playing a drum, you're playing guitar, and like you're matching each other. So like if I get louder, they get louder,
That's synergy.
softer. Yeah, that's so cool. That's probably the best.
Nice. No, that's great. That's great.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
So how do you find like, let's see, how can I word this well? Because obviously music has like an incredible impact on people. Now, do you find that like there's a certain area that kind of has a bigger impact? Like people tend to be more like they respond well to, like, do they like the drum circle stuff? Do they like specific types of music? I mean, obviously it's probably connected to something. So do you find that there's like one thing that like really like every time that like you're excited about this part and people respond well to this and they really come alive like during these moments?
Yo, solid question. Yeah, so I mean, with the individual I work with now, so people struggling with like substance abuse issues and things, I mean, it's really good to like focus on their preferences. So like anybody, right? Like, you're gonna want to engage or participate in music that you like to do. If you're not like the biggest fan of like polka, and we're like doing polka or something like that, or just like some weird, like strange music or something that's just like I'm not into this. It's gonna be you're gonna immediately shut down and just shut off and be like, this isn't my thing, even without even knowing what we're doing. It's just like, this doesn't sound good to me. I can't relate to this. I've never listened to this kind of music. Not my thing. Done. Right. So obviously it's really huge to hit on the preferences and what they like and what you want to listen to.
Yeah, and I guess that all requires like relationship building with them, right?
Right. So that's like, and you're meeting them where they are. So like, like, well, I like this kind of music. I like this band. I like these songs. Like, okay, great. Let's do something with that. Like, that sounds great. Let's make it work. Because that immediately gets them interested. And even for myself, I mean, I'm pretty open to all different kinds of music. But if I'm just going to be doing some type of activity or something music related, and for example, like polka, if I'm just like doing something with like polka all the time, 24/7, I'm going to be like, well, this is not really my particular jam at all moments of time. I appreciate it. It's good. But eventually I'm going to be like, this is not my thing, So good just to meet people where they are, what they like to do, what they like to listen
definitely. To. I feel like music is so personal too. You know what I mean? Like we all have that one group or that one like song that we just love and that we have a connection with because we see ourselves in like the lyrics. So I feel like, there's something to that. And I really respect you and I respect like this idea. And because I think I could see that like music has such an incredible impact on people. And to turn that into a healing process is like beautiful and like that's awesome.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that because sometimes what I run into, it's not really necessarily an issue, but people that like certain music or certain songs, we'll just like be sharing some songs. Someone will be like, oh, we don't really have time to listen to your song. Maybe another time. They get like really defensive. They're like, well, this is my song. Like, this is my music. Like, this is who I am. Like, they almost so identify with the music so much that just like in that minor situation, they almost like feel threatened that like, you're not letting me express myself with my song and my music. And sometimes that can be a challenge for some people because, especially with substance abuse issues, if you're like listening to music that glorifies like using drugs, violence or whatever, like we kind of have to like,
it's self-sabotaging a little
bit. You kind of got to talk about that and figure that out and be like, it's a great way to assess where they are, like what kind of music they listen to, what they relate to. And of course there is ways to, um, help people live a certain lifestyle and separate themselves from that kind of music and go on a certain path. But yeah, like they're listening to music that really, yeah, does self sabotage or is like negative and influences negative moods and negative things and stuff like that. If you're listening to that over and over and over and over, obviously you're just gonna like almost become that music, that lifestyle, that culture. So it can be dangerous at times and a challenge to help people kind of work through that and like see that, and like how that influences their thoughts, feelings, behaviors, and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's very
Clearly, like relationships is one of like the main like inspirate like building relationships, and also having a music background too is really what inspired you into this profession. Is there anything else that could have inspired you to get after this? Way back when.
Way back when, I feel like I'm starting a story. Once upon a time, when I was a ye little man, but no. Um, yeah, I'm thinking about when I was in high school. I was like, all right, like I'm going to college. So everybody, when you're going to college, you're like, all right, what do I do? What does that look like? What am I gonna do? So I was like, all right, just going to psychology. I don't really know. Interested in mental health, the brain, stuff like that. But then I actually got winds from, I think my mom had a friend who was in the medical field, and he was like, hey, like there's this thing called music therapy. Your son might be interested in it. Because at the time, I was very involved in music. I was in marching band, choir, sang in musicals and stuff like that. So like, oh, that's interesting. That's cool. So I'll give that a try. And the reason I kind of went that route, psychology, whatever, related, because I kind of grew up in a family that has a lot of mental health issues and things like that. So I was like, I want to know more about that. I want to learn more about that. So I ended up, getting into the music therapy program, just being like, I don't really know what this is. I don't really know why I'm here, but I think I'm supposed to be here. And then just kind of gave it a try and just like fell in love with it. And I kind of looked at it as an opportunity to be like, all right, like I am musical and things like that. Obviously if I just take the musician route, it's going to be a lot of hard work. But I also want to like give back to people and be able to like use those talents and kind of like service for others in some way. And music therapy just kind of made sense at the time. And it just worked and it just clicked. And the people in like the music therapy community and like the culture and those in the profession, they're so passionate. I mean, there's so much passion and willingness to help others and like just willing to like grow as professionals. And I really thrived with that. I mean, I went to so many different conferences and just seeing that community and being a part of that, I'm like, yo, these are my people. I'm like, what's up? Let's go. So that really helped me kind of like keep pushing forward and, continuing to kind of like, seek jobs with that, get some more education, combine counseling with it, and just like make it, make it better, I guess, if you want to say it that way.
I only see like music therapy, art therapy are only professions that are growing, because a lot of mental health issues like have never been diagnosed or addressed before, and it's only growing stronger, which is a very good thing as far as mental health community is concerned. But still, misconceptions are there, clearly. But are there any misconceptions you've noticed about music therapy?
Yeah, I mean, the one that I struggle with the most is like, oh, like people will be like, okay, like, you're a music therapist. So they kind of, I think, get this notion that, well, back in the day, like, oh, you just put on CDs in a jukebox and just kind of like listen to music, or you just put on music and play music, and then, that's like what you do. So you know a lot about music, playing different music, things like that. I think that's like the biggest thing. So then I have to explain, well, it's a little bit more than that. There's other things I do, like other interventions. So like songwriting, like playing music together, just like song discussions, using song discussions, compare it with other things just to make it more motivating, engaging, and stuff like that. Like I've been to school for it. Like there's education for that. Like, I'm certified. And then it just doesn't tackle like the emotional things, like, feelings and stuff and things. That's a good component of it. Music can change how you feel and support that and reinforce certain things. But at the same time, like even on one end, like the physical aspect, there's a lot of music therapists that are really into the neurological side of things. And they help people with like Parkinson's,
Mm.
people with speech issues, like be able to like speak better or speak well,
Mm.
or be able to help them with their gait and walking issues to like walk better. So there's a lot of different aspects that I think people just kind of forget about, don't know about. There's
Yeah.
always like maybe just a lack of education. So there's some advocacy that needs to happen. But yeah, the biggest misconception is just you just put on music for people,
Hmm.
and just listen to it, and that's maybe just talk about it for a little bit. So that's always the biggest thing I think.
I think, and you've studied this, so correct me if I'm wrong. I know that Aristotle and Plato, they talked about music therapy, or at least the beginnings of it in their writings, but also, World War II and World War One, like these community musicians for, soldiers, of course, encountering emotional trauma, PTSD. They were at first um, played music by these community musicians, and then after a while, seeing like the success of that, they said, there's some training that should be involved in this. We should be, because we can address more people. I don't know if like you've encountered or heard any of that before. That's just something I did before researching this, coming into this conversation. Um, there is totally a misconception that it's not just listening to music, it's playing with others. And yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So the whole World War II thing. So yeah, that's like where music therapy picked up, right? So that's when it started becoming more of a profession,
Hmm.
and especially with trauma. So like people, coming back from war, dealing with trauma, post-traumatic stress. I think at the time it was called shell shock syndrome. Um, so like music offer any type of like creative arts modality like offers an opportunity to like experience the trauma in like a different way rather than just like talking about it, like because like talking about it um can be particularly maybe like a little bit more threatening, but like music kind of provides like a safe space for that to happen, where you don't even really need to talk about it. You can just experience maybe music in some way and connect it with that experience and kind of process it better that way. Because especially with trauma, so like when a traumatic experience happens, I'm nerding out right now, guys. So when a traumatic experience happens, right, you perceive it typically in your right brain, where all the senses take in the information. You get like an emotional experience. Your brain starting to make sense of it, and then it heads over to more of the left brain where you start analyzing it, picking up past experiences. How does this make sense? Categorizing or whatever. But like with trauma, so if you're still kind of in a traumatic state, coming back from war or whatever, and having like those traumatic symptoms where you're always on edge, irritable, perceiving some type of threat or something like that, it's kind of locked in your right brain. So you're still trying to emotionally process it and like figuring it out. And like that's always lightening up. So like music can kind of touch that area of your brain, to kind of process it differently in more of a creative way with your emotions and kind of get it over to a sense where you can kind of think about it in like a more healthier way. Like, how does this make sense to me? But with the trauma, it kind of blocks that. It doesn't let it get to the next part where you're trying to like make more logical sense of like, like, well, I'm safe right now. Everything's fine. That was in the past. That's not happening. So like we got to take a step back, get to the emotional connection of like that experience. So and music can kind of allow that, just music being music. So yeah.
It's awesome. Yeah, that's so cool. I
Yeah.
was going to bring that up actually. I was wondering how if it affects the brain in different places because I know with some people like you brought up who struggle with speech is like singing is like a different aspect of the brain than just straight talking. So I know like some people who can't talk but they can sing or they kind of have like these kind of interesting things. So that's really cool. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. Yeah, there's like a lot of ways music has helped people with trying to get back to some normalcy, trying to be able to, speak when they have some type of speech disorder or something like that. So, yeah, there's a lot of good stuff there.
Yeah.
How does
Yeah.
one become a music therapist?
How does one become a music therapist? It's a good question. Um, so, you're in high school, or maybe you're not in high school, but you're like, all right, I want to become a music therapist. What do I do? Um, so go to school. You're going to want to go to school. So there's only certain schools, colleges, universities in the country that offer music therapy. So there's like a select few. Most of the time, it's like a 4-year program if you're going in undergraduate to get your bachelor's. So obviously, you want to get that bachelor's, get that education. They do have some equivalency programs, like if you already have a bachelor's and you're just going to get the music therapy certification, you can do that. So that's an option as well. So you go kind of get that education. And then once you do that, there's typically like an internship that you have to do once you finish those classes. Typically it's 6 months, pretty much full time. And then once you're finished that, you have to sit for the certification exam, which I would recommend studying for, because I didn't and I barely passed. But once you pass that, then you get your certification, so you become a board certified music therapist. You can call yourself a music therapist and you can do music therapy. Yeah.
Great.
Love it.
It seems like a lot when I talk about it, but if you're passionate enough about it, man, it's worth it. You know, definitely do it.
It's time for the news.
Talking about the crisis of the border, this is definitely one of the most serious undertakings of this current administration. We have, of course, large numbers of migrants crossing the U.S.-Mexico border, seeking refuge. Just this last month, April was the second busiest month for, having these unaccompanied minors. After March, of course, a large number, about 170,000, a little bit over that, total encounters with families and kids just in April, 170,000.
Wow.
So I kind of just want to get your initial thoughts on that one.
Crazy. Yeah, I know they've been definitely fleeing this way, running through. So I feel that. And obviously, just because of Biden, I think that they feel like they wouldn't be, I don't know, maybe they feel safer or something with him as opposed to Trump.
Yeah, it's a lot of people, and I don't know if this is right, but I feel like I heard this somewhere, that during every presidency, there's always been like some influx of like people crossing the border. But obviously, like right now, it's like a lot of people crossing the border, and yeah, maybe because of Biden's administration, people feel a little bit more safe and like
comfortable taking that trek.
It's a possibility, yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of crazy. Is it like, it's definitely a concern, whatever way you look at it, because like, man, that's a lot of people coming into like one space at one time. Yeah, like you're gonna have so many issues.
How to take care of them, how to feed them, how to do whatever you need.
Yeah. Do we have the resources needed to really address the concerns that they have when fleeing in the first place?
Yeah, exactly that. And you hear horror stories about children in cages and all this stuff, so it's hard to, you hope that there's no like human right violations or
when did these cages come about? When did we first start hearing about them?
I don't know, I feel like back, not sure,
maybe about like, something tells me it
ago.
happened also during the Obama administration, but some people blame the Trump administration. I don't know. I really don't know, because obviously we're not quite near the border, but at the same time, we can only just do it based on hearsay. Yeah.
Just the hot take articles that we read about these things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel for them though. I think it's a good thing, because obviously they're fleeing like horrible situations and just hoping that they can find some kind of life here, and they should. They should. But it's just a matter of being able to take care of them and all that.
And if they're going into a worse situation, because clearly they want to be, find a good job. They want to at least have a better life than they did, say, like in this case, Mexico. Apparently these people, a lot of single adults, so just crossing the border on their own, they're expelled. Once they are caught, if they are caught, rather. But there's no consequence if they are expelled. So people cross a number of times, and the more that they do, I'm sure that they're recognized. But sometimes they're not recognized, and they're able to sneak through.
Yeah, it makes you think though, if they're coming over like multiple times or really trying like so desperately to like get across the border, it's just like, man, like what are they running from? Like it must be that bad that they're gonna like keep trying and risking that and like trying to make it work to just have like some glimmer of hope that something will be different. Like they must like the struggle must be real. Like it must be like their situation and circumstances must be really bad. So it does make me think, like, I don't really know why so many people are coming across the border. I mean, I know there's like drug cartels and like issues with that in Mexico and things like that. And I feel like, a lot of behavior always comes in related to drugs and things along those lines. But their situation must be like that dire that they have to like keep trying,
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Biden seemed to allow unaccompanied kids, to stay. Same with families and kids, but really like the focus of expelling people came more for like these single folks. Like they're waiving families and unaccompanied kids to stay in America, first to allow them to be processed, give them food at these institutions near the border. But yeah, it's very interesting because most of the focus for expelling had come from single folks. But there doesn't really seem to be too much of a consequence for them. So.
Yeah.
This is complicated stuff. Man, I feel for the people that got to figure it out. Politicians, whoever, like, we got all these people, got to figure out how you're going to fix this. Just be like, I don't know. How would you do that? That's crazy.
What I heard is that during the Trump administration, when people, especially single people, had crossed the border, they would bring them back to Mexico, but far away from the border so as to deter them from crossing again. But as we're seeing, numbers have risen up quite exponentially since the year 2000. So it seems like it didn't really deter them all that much since 2016. Yeah. So it didn't really deter too many people from it. I read a quote from Michael Fisher. He was a previous Border Patrol chief from like 2010 to 2015. And he was, because he's not an agency leader anymore, but he was told by other agents at that time that there's 40% more time, less time patrolling, the wall, and more time of these agents processing and doing meals. So obvious. More people are coming into the country because these agents are spending more time in these buildings versus taking a look at the wall. So it's only a wonder how many numbers are coming in.
Yeah, crazy. That'll happen, I guess, right? Because obviously these people need attention, and it's going to take them away from other things. Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
This might seem kind of controversial, but I loved my history classes in high school and stuff. And I read this book that came out like about 15 years ago. And this might seem controversial, but I'm just spitting out stuff at this point. So sorry if I go out on a tangent. I suppose it's nice to know where you're at in the political landscape, because history, I've learned, doesn't repeat itself. It just it rhymes. To quote George Lucas, it's poetry. It rhymes. It's important to know where we're at in the historical landscape, because these are historical times, especially with COVID. Make no mistake. Like never encountered anything like this before. I think it's good to compare America to the Roman Empire and how we know, of course, Rome fell. Why did it fall? And a lot of people would say easy, invasion. But they were able to fend off all these people centuries before. And some say Christianity conversion robbed people of their fighting spirit, which is just a load of it's just idiotic. I don't think Christianity robbed people of their fighting spirit. I think this book that I read by, his name was I'm looking at my bookcase right now. I'm trying to look for it right now.
Just edit this out.
Yeah. Peter Heather was his name. He came out with a book about his own theory, and this is intriguing. He argues that Rome fell because of immigration. These Germanic tribes that came from the north, they at first, like in the 1st and 5th century, they traded with Rome and everything was aces. And these people also sought refuge from Rome too. And people, of course, were let in. They were immigrants. But in the past, then people still immigrated to Rome under certain conditions. They had to assimilate, not be secluded in their own sections of Rome, of the empire. They had to, spread across, meet new people, I suppose. And his theory goes along the lines of saying that these Germanic tribes, after what happened to my phone? Siri just picked up like Germanic tribes and was just, and it was like, and they searched up Germanic tribes, whatever.
Like EDM starts playing.
Yeah. German techno. I'm leaving that in. But
Germanic tribes.
All these notifications, they're listening to you. Yeah, so they had to assimilate. And after a while, after like 5th century, Rome left at times. Like a lot of their troops were in different areas. Persia came back up again. They left the West open. So all these Germanic tribes were just let in. They were just let in because they were trying to like escape, the Huns, which Rome could, fight off at first. But these Germanic tribes, when they were just let in willy-nilly, they retained their cultural and political identities, and they eventually just combined and the Romans couldn't overcome them. And that's how Rome ended.
Right.
I'm just like running through history in my mind right now.
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember what year that was.
Yeah, I'm like,
I think it was 543. I think. I'm something
like what year we learned it.
No, 458. 458, I think.
Wow, it's late. I didn't realize the time's already.
It's like, geez, we've been talking for a while. Yeah, well, I guess there's something to that, though, right? I mean, sure, but I feel like in our circumstance, in our case, just because we're democratic, I feel like different, varying opinions and thoughts and different nationalities kind of make it kind of more
better,
beautiful, make it like the purpose of it. And then something like the Roman Empire, which I don't know how democratic they were in 540 or whatever.
At this point, it was an empire, and of course, you had about.
Because they had a republic, right?
After there were a republic before. After the first emperor Augustus, you had a series of like 4 or 5 good emperors. Then you had, and I think Nero was one of them. Caligula was one of them, and he was awful, really detestable. But you had a series of about 200 years of civil war, and which combined to the falling of Rome. So it's not just immigration that could have contributed to that guy's theory. But you had a series of emperors that just did their own thing.
Did their own thing.
Yeah,
and then
now,
tried to keep this. And that's the thing with those circumstances is you need everyone to agree with you, and you need your subjects to agree with you too. And then in that kind of climate, in that as opposed to just voting in a new person. So it's the fall of the empire because now we have these people, the Germanic tribes coming in from different backgrounds, different locations, different ways of living. Then all of a sudden they kind of run the show and show them that, I'm not going to be subject to these.
That's interesting that you bring that up because eventually Roman emperors were not like the emperors that were to be were not Roman anymore.
Right. Because then they became more militant after that.
Yeah. And of course, like I said, that they're still emperors, but eventually what was not Rome anymore by definition, all people in Italy today, including Sicily, they were overrun by, Middle East, Gaul, which is France now. It made the Italian people what they are today. So I'm not talking about genetics. I'm just talking about Roman values.
All of a sudden, there's a lot of hairy people with dark hair.
I am Sicilian actually, but I'm more like a pale Sicilian. So I have other. I'm a mutt. I of course.
Very white. That's mine.
One of a kind, Joe. You're one of a kind.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, there you go. So I think the thing with immigration is sure, like it can be difficult in certain aspects, but I feel like for a country like ours, the fact that we can choose our representatives, like sure that could affect who's in power, but I feel like it doesn't really affect the system that much because we have a system that's not perfect by any means, but like there's things in place to help balance out, people from having too much power, or like from, destroying the system that we have in place. There's a lot of things to protect it. So I feel like it's, putting prejudices aside and just realizing that humans are humans who need help, and sure they're gonna have different opinions than you because everyone does.
Yeah.
And then just loving on them regardless. Like
that's
America, man. That's the soul.
America,
the foundation of our country, man. It's the loving on everybody. Of course, we don't really see that too much nowadays, but that's what it's about.
But that's a story for another time.
Booyah.
Booyah.
You've got questions. You're feeling grounded.
So our question from Thomas, he says, if you had to describe yourself as a flavor of ice cream, which flavor would that be and why?
Oh.
Josh or Chris?
That's an intense question.
It is an intense question.
So it's hard for me not to think of my favorite ice cream.
Kind, yeah.
Right. It's like that's where your mind goes, and I really like black raspberry. So I'm like, well, if I really like black raspberry, how am I black raspberry? Well, black it's like dark in color, right? So it's kind of like I feel like I always wear dark clothing. I always wear dark color, yeah. And it's got like a sweet, savory, creamy sense, And I'm like a sweet.
Which savory and creamy?
Yeah, savory.
It's very savory and creamy.
Yeah, obviously. Therefore, black raspberry. That was funny.
Nice. I feel like mine is like torn between two. It's like I love chocolate chip cookie dough and I love mint chocolate chip. I'm not sure. I guess if I'm more green, they're like green to you guys.
Yeah.
Mint chocolate chips usually green.
You could have said pistachio. Yeah, pistachio is also very green.
That's true. I'm not really a big fan of pistachio, to be completely honest. Yeah. But I am filled with cookies a lot, so maybe cookies. Yeah, what about you, Joe?
Okay, I've got just right now, at this moment in time, my personality is cake batter ice cream because I'm always celebrating, and plus I'm also pretty sweet too. I don't really like cake, but having it in ice cream format with that extra layer of sweetness, I think that pretty much sums up who I am. So yeah.
Okay.
I love it. Always celebrating. So therefore, yeah, that's too good.
Good stuff.
So we want all of you guys to do is subscribe to Feeling Grounded Podcast on YouTube, like the video, hit that notification bell if you haven't already, and we want you all also to check us out on our other platforms. Spotify's a thing, Audible's a thing, and Amazon Music and iHeartRadio. And also, since we had Thomas, shout out to Thomas for that great question. On our videos, put some questions on there. Like the video also, and just ask us a question about anything. Right, Josh?
Yep. Anything. So thank you, Tom.
Anything. Literally anything.
Okay. Well, Chris, thank you so much, man. Like I said, you're a legend.
Wow. Yeah, this was cool. This is cool that you guys do this. Get people together. I like it.
And now we just did episode 8. This is episode 8 right here.
So that means like you're officially a podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Isn't it like episode 8 that like
a lot of people
like the
might
average?
fall off.
Yeah, usually they end after the 8th one. So if we can go to 9, the next one.
Yeah, I hope people watch this one then.
Yeah. Hey. Crazy stuff.
You got questions?
You're feeling grounded.